Allah, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Brakata'al, Brakata'al Shai, Brakata'al, Brakata'al Shai, Brakata'al, Brakata'al Shai, Dawada, Abba, Baal, Kadash. I'd like to give double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that teaches truth, 100% truth, according to the Bible, the true word of the Lord. Do a quick lesson this early morning, just did a little quick workout. And I listened to the beloved elder Apostle Tahar video. And he was going in on the terror thing with Donald Trump and the situations that it's creating right now. And he was giving elder Apostle Tahar was giving a beautiful breakdown on how this all kind of got started, with China. And China goes back in the Bible, tells you China is our washpot. And China is the one that's going to be part of bringing down Babylon the Great. And he was going into, because I remember, like I said, back in the 80s, maybe early 80s, might have been even the 70s. I was too young really to work then, but they were going over how U.S. companies, sold out the American people. The government sold out the American people because they made a trade deals during that time, and one of the trade deals mainly with China. And so they knew China had an influx of people over there, and they had no rights. So China, at that time, they had maybe like close to 1 billion people. They had quite a bit of people, And, they were, like Elder Apostle Tahar was saying, they were farmers, so, they're not used to making an income or anything. So they went over there and converted those people, the Chinese government, to making them from farmers to factory workers. And therefore began the beginning of China rise. I remember back in the 70s, man, China had no wealth, had no power. They were a large country, but they had no wealth and no power. Not the China that we think of today, as being all over the place. Because if you travel, you see Chinese stores set up everywhere, where they're selling all type of cheap goods and shit, But China didn't have that reach back then. So they put those companies over there, China, India, and all these places where they had a lot of people where they didn't have no rights, and they could make them to manufacture things for a little or nothing. Damn near, they're slaves, I think they said like a pair of Nikes, a pair of Michael Jordans over Nikes cost like $10 to make, but yet they sell them to you over here for $200. So we sold all our manufacturing gigs to these overseas nations, and that's where all the companies went. And so then you had an influx of a loss of jobs, man, and especially mainly in you Jake's community, so-called Black, Hispanics, Native Americans. It's hard to find a job after the 80s, especially in manufacturing. So a lot of those jobs went, because like I said, they can go get it for cheaper labor, damn it, for free. They didn't have to, like the Elder Apostle was saying, they don't have to pay union fees, they don't have to pay medical, retirement, none of that bullshit. Well, that's not bullshit, but none of that, because they're all about money at the end of the day. It's really like it's about these oligarchs, man. They don't give a fuck about the people. And not just talking about you Jakes, but they don't give a fuck about their own people, because at the end of the day, all they see is green. Esau, Edom he's the wicked, man. He don't give a fuck, there's no honor amongst thieves, and they all thieves, man. So, like I said, I remember those jobs going over there. I remember when Bill Clinton came into office. He signed a trade agreement, which was called the NAFTA agreement. They had a lot of protesters around the world because of that. And they said these little manufacturing jobs that we have here, that was the end of it. All of them gonna be gone. And I'm quite sure, like I say, our government these politicians got a big kickback from these oligarchs, man, from these company bosses or CEOs. And so I remember during that time, you used to hear about buy America, and America great. You know, you always check the tags and stuff like that. You know, you try to promote that shit. You know, you buy stuff that's made in America, American steel, American everything. Now they don't even make steel here. That's what one thing we specialized in was American steel. Everything comes from overseas, man. Everything is imported instead of us exporting anything now. And like I said, those became the jobs. We just became nothing but consumers. They reduced us nothing but becoming consumers. Like the cost of inflation of things have went up, but yet the job market or the price of your labor, you know, barely budged, man, barely moved the needle. So like the house what you paid for back in the 1950s or the 50s to the 70s, you know, it's probably maybe $10,000 for a nice 3-4 bedroom home. You know, even though you're making like maybe $3 an hour, but you had enough money to save. You know, you probably could take care of 2 families off what you made back then. Now you can't find a house up under $200,000. You know, and the price of your wages didn't keep up with what the cost of inflation and what went on in the economy. It didn't keep up, and that was, you know, it's bound to happen. And so they talking about bringing jobs back here with these tariffs, man. Like Elder Apostle Tar was saying, by the time you bring those jobs back, these companies ain't trying to pay people what it takes for them to work these manufacturing jobs, man. You know, they're gonna have to pay them at least from $50 to $100 an hour to keep up with the economy, keep up with what's going on with inflation, and that's not going to happen, man. You know, these companies not paying that kind of money. So yeah, it's nothing but just a big it's a big crash and burn, man. And this thing is going down fast, you know. This thing's going down real fast. And we're here to witness it, man. You know, they try to give you hope that things are going to turn around and things are going to change. You know, in theory, it does make sense what Donald Trump is trying to do, but in reality, it's not going to happen. And all the experts say we can't recover. This place is not going to be able to recover because it's so far gone, man. So far greed and corruption, you know. And you look at all the money that they spend. We talking about trillions and trillions of dollars, man, that's been, you know, thrown away, that's been wasted away, you know. When I say wasted away, you know, they put it in their own pockets, you know, through corruption, greed and corruption, man, corrupting other leaders, you know, all over the world, and that's all type of wickedry, man. And this place is going down, you know, it done reached its end. That's pretty much it, man. I want to kind of hit that point, you know, listen to the video by the beloved elder, man, and so we just have to keep up, man, and stay focused on what's going on in the world, because it's changing so fast right before our eyes, man. And by us being in the middle of this matrix, man, it don't look like it's moving that fast, but when you get outside of it and you look outside of it, man, shit is changing rapidly, you know, because they keep you in a mind fuck with, you know, just a bunch of bullshit that they overcrowd you with shit that don't really matter. They don't give you the real things that's going on the news. You know, they just give you a bunch of fluff, man. They don't give you the real what's happening in the world. And so we look outside of the box, man. We see outside of the matrix, and we see these things and these changes that are happening. And it takes us back to Revelation 18, man. That whore on the beast. So Lord will, man, this is edifying with that. Say shalom.